This particular event was started when we were in COVID, and we wanted to do an annual reminder of September 11 events. Firefighters have been going over to the Rogue Valley Manor every year and climbing the staircase, but we couldn't do that during COVID due to the spacing requirements. So rather than not doing anything, we did a track walk. And that way we could be spaced apart outside. And it kind of became a popular thing. We've got law enforcement, we got EMS, dispatch, folks from the Sheriff's Department evidence group, obviously a lot of firefighters, both wildland and structural. The thought that any firefighter has is that if we'd have been on duty in New York that day, it probably would have been us too. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you end up working. If something like that happens, it's kind of all hands on deck, and we would have been there too. There's been a lot of lessons learned, but ultimately the patriotism that we saw post 9/11 across the country was extremely impacting for a lot of us. It was, everybody felt unified, and we vowed to never forget, and so here we are, not forgetting.